Do you think late autumn is not the most romantic time of the year? And here not. One fine November day, Nasty Lyubnye literally fell into the hands of her fate, and then she ran away like Cinderella, leaving only a broken heel instead of a shoe. Will the prince fail? Find his nasty yacht. It is based on real events. The names of the main characters are changed. Alexandra Kravets Whisper of Autumn. If Nasty Lyubnye, the 19-year-old student of the historical faculty, and I would like to believe that accidents are not accidental and all committed acts return as a boomerang, then life stubbornly proved to her the opposite. How can you believe in this truth if you do not wish evil to anyone? Do good to the extent of your strengths and possibilities. And fate stubbornly does not want to arrange a long-awaited meeting with the very self, even if not the prince, but at least worthy in all respects a guy. Nasty knew how to wait and philosophically relate to the dead calm in her personal life, but this is the phrase about non-random accidents, which almost every acquaintance liked to repeat, was just starting to lose her temper. The train, stopping at the forest, inhospitably released Nasty directly in the rain, and the girl, clutching her head in the shoulders, ran away from the platform and ran along a wet path toward the new buildings. Her path ran along a small grove, dotted with paths and paved with colored tiles, paths with comfortable wooden benches on either side. Around the rustled oaks and maples, bending the tops under the biting streams of summer rain, and dropped heavy drops on the girl. From behind the trees the baker's lights could be seen. Nasty went there. She walked, trying not to slow down, despite the fact that her shoes slid along the wet path, as if on ice. Suddenly she had a sharp heel. The girl gasped and sat down. She rubbed her ankle. "It's okay," she muttered, calming herself. "The leg does not hurt a bit." "Are you okay?" the woman asked anxiously, stopping beside her. Nasty remembered that they were traveling in the same car. In one hand the traveling companion had a twisted umbrella of blue color, and in the other, a light-looking package from a supermarket in the capital. "Thanks, all is well," Nasty answered cheerfully and rose to her feet. "Can I help you?" No, you are not." The woman even was confused. Nasty smiled at her and strode on, listening to the rustle of the leaves and the rain. The girl loved and appreciated nature, with pleasure watched her changes. Every Sunday pastime preferred walks in the park and grew violets on the loggia. But, like many, would prefer to be in this weather at home by the window with a cup of hot cocoa in her hands. Rasskazy was left behind, and Nasty went into the bakery to buy bread and to tea cheesecakes. Sellers in Koloska recognized her, although in this new neighborhood the Lyubnye family settled not so long ago. "Good afternoon," welcomed the woman standing behind the counter. On her name badge the name was Olga. "Hello." Nasty tinkered a little on the threshold, wiping her feet on a wet rag, and walked to the counter. "Please cut the loaf and—" I know, and 33 cheesecakes." "Will be done." Olga smiled and turned to the shelves with bakery products. No, laughed the girl. "3. Only 3. I know, it's not the first time you come in and every time you take almost the same thing," the wordy saleswoman responded, giving the girl a loaf and cheesecakes. "As always, 32 hryvnias, 30 kopecks." "As always, it's good," Nasty said. "I mean, it's good that does not go up." The woman nodded at the counter. "Are you without an umbrella?" she asked sympathetically, looking at the customer. while she took out money from the purse. Nastya herself understood that she looked so. The hairstyle she was wearing over the broken hour was spoiled by rain, but at least her friends at the university were appreciated. The clothes were soaked, the white shoes in the mud. It was sunny in the morning, the girl said in her defense. Here, take it, please. 32.30. Well, thank you. Olga was delighted. Today is a day like this. No one has any little things. Surrender has nothing to give. Nastya smiled sympathetically. The door slammed. A new customer entered. Nastya did not look in his direction. She was busy packing up the purchases in the package. I just noticed with my side vision that a man came in sneakers, jeans and a light t-shirt, and also without an umbrella. Good afternoon. The hello greeted the seller. I'm listening. I'm rifling. Please, said the boy. Something else? You do not want cheesecakes? Fresh? No, I do not want it, thank you. 11 hryvnias, 35 kopecks, Olga announced. Oh, and you will not make me happy with the change. Surrender is not at all. Here, the girl is the first today with small money. Unfortunately, I have nothing to please you, the buyer replied somewhat irritably. In such cases, Olga used to say, it's okay, then you'll carry it. Or from somewhere else. She magically snatched a non-existent change from somewhere. But this time she did neither. Here, I have. Nastya laid on the counter 35 kopecks. She does not mind. Moreover, why not provide a small favor to a good-natured Olga and a stranger at the same time? Despite the disgusting weather, Nastya Ivanovna had a reason for joy. She passed a difficult exam for excellent. A good mood, the feeling that is difficult to keep in yourself and who want to share it with others. The seller put the threaded loaf on the counter. Remember this girl, young man, she said. You owe her 35 kopecks. Thank you. She heard the surprise. Nastya deliberately did not turn her head and met a stranger with a look, fencing off him with a curtain of light blonde hair. Firstly, because of the rain, her hair was probably unpresentable, plus, perhaps, the mascara was slightly smeared, and secondly, this is not the place and not the case when the girls meet their princes. Well, in fact, 35 kopecks, not a reason for dating. Nastya muttered, not at all, and hurried to the door. In the depths of her soul, the girl hoped that the guy would catch up with her and thank him again. They will talk. He will ask for her phone number, and then they will meet. But that did not happen. No one caught up with Nastya, did not talk, and did not ask for a phone number. Anastasia Litvinova clattered her heels towards the new buildings completely alone, inhaling to the dizziness the pleasant smell of blossoming roses that grew around. The mood did not deteriorate. She still tended to the fact that the prince himself today, she did not meet. Either the hair is not the same, or the prince is not at all. But there was a pleasant feeling in my heart that I had done a good deed. Let and a trifle, but, maybe, the irritation of even one person in this city will decrease a little, and the mood will improve. It's already good. Over the summer, Nastya completely forgot about this case, which is not surprising. Life has taken care of that. The girl is not bored. So, Nastya successfully passed the session and immediately left for the sea, but did not rest, but work as a counselor in the children's health camp. I made new friends there, tore off my voice. My daughter sunbathed, and on September 1st, changing her hair color. I returned to school. Nastya Litvinova preferred not to think about the princes. However, they, too, did not particularly think about it. Sitting in a minibus at the window, Nastya admired the nestled under the shadow of slender evergreen pine trees with old wooden houses that kept the yellow outfits with birch trees, passing by cars, located on the road by small shops and cafes. Thoughts were swarming in the girl's head, about nothing and everything at once. She just let them go free swimming and did not concentrate on any one. Despite the absence of princes, Nastya was in a great mood. The whole group gathered to celebrate Rita Krasilidia's birthday, the group's headman, and arranged to meet at a cafe near the Lyubnye metro station at exactly 7 in the evening. Up to 7 there was an hour and a half, just enough time to get on the bus to Ekaterinburg, and then change to the subway. With Rita, Nastya has had warm friendly relations since the first day of her studies. Then two young confused first-year students ran around the corridors of the university in an unsuccessful attempt to find the right audience, and everyone from whom they were interested. How to pass to the 501st could, because many themselves turned out to be the same freshmen as they, and older students. Those who did not oversleep the first couple had no time to explain, and before the call was 4 minutes, Rita went to Nastya with the question, "Can you tell me how to get through to the 501st?" Nastya suddenly laughed. Rita laughed too. The girls started talking, found out that both entered the same specialty, and running along the corridors together turned out to be much more fun, but, however, not at all fruitful. The search was complicated by the fact that the university building had 4 floors and the numbering seemed logical. For example, on the first floor there were offices with numbers from 100 and up, on the second, from 200, on the third, from 300 and so on. But where there should be 501st audience in a 4-story building, nobody knew. In a word, the riddle. Nastya and Rita would probably be late for the first lecture in their life, if one very nice young man did not ask if they were looking for an audience number 501. "It's her." The girls brightened up. The stranger had at first sight to himself, open in other words. Nastya knew too well how the present prince should or should not act under different circumstances, so she decided the question was not in favor of scare hate, if the prince did not run after the girl with the heel at the ready, so as not to violate the good fairy traditions. Then, in the summer, after the incident in the bakery, would surely have caught up and thanked again. This is an elementary sign of politeness, after all. And Serhate, moreover, was in no hurry to find his Cinderella. After Rita's birthday, it's been 5 days already, and Serhate has not announced it yet. It was, of course, possible to justify it by the fact that on Monday there was bad weather, and on Tuesday Nastya was unwell and did not leave the house at all, that on Wednesdays couples ended early, and on Thursday her father took her from the university. But there was still Friday, and some inner feeling told her that this story with Serhate was not over yet. The breeze played with the tops of maple trees and oaks, tearing off the remaining leaves, and they flew smoothly down, spinning and colliding with each other, bumping into tree trunks, covering the paved path, the ground, benches and carousels on the playground that hid in the middle of the grove. The sun had not yet set. It was warm enough, and the kids played and frolicked on the playground. Some descended from the hill, others swung on a swing, and the third sprinkled each other with piles of fallen leaves. Nastya looked down at the fat yellow rug carpet that lay at her feet. I wanted, as a child, to fall, dig into the leaves and laugh with happiness. I did not really want to laugh now, but passers-by would have twisted a finger at the temple, looking at the overgrown maiden lying in the leaves. But Nasty was sure that simple children's entertainment would help to distract from problems and doubts, feel happier and more carefree, calm down, and under a different angle to look at the problem. Not for nothing that psychologists recommend that adults and self-sufficient people periodically return to childhood after all. It is not only useful, but also nice. The fallen leaves rustled softly under Nasty's feet. It seemed that the autumn whispered to her about something important. It was only to listen. First, Nasty saw shiny black men's shoes, which stood in her way. The look immediately took off and stopped on a bouquet of white roses. "It is for you." Before her stood the prince. That is, not Prince, but Sergei. In general, Nasty was confused. She then decides whether this is the same face, Prince and Sergei, or different. "Save and for," said Nasty, taking the flowers. At all wrong. She represented a new meeting with Sergei. Not that the girl really did not like surprises. Rather, she did not expect such a gift from an occasional acquaintance. And if you imagine that he is already spending the 5th evening in a row for her on expensive bouquets and flying from a bus stop at a bakery to a railway station straight through a grove in which it is impossible to get lost, of course, but miss many paths, easily, awkwardly to horror. "And I was looking for you," the guy said, "to thank." Then it turned out so awkward. "Well, with these 35 kopecks, I left the store, and then my bus turned up. It's just that sometimes you have to go to work on a night shift." Even later, sitting on the bus, I regretted that I did not catch up with you. Extremely impolite of me. You forgive me? "What do you mean?" Nasty muttered, dropping her gaze and pretending to look at the quaintly curled rose petals. "And by the end of the summer I already despaired of finding you. I thought suddenly you moved and I'll never see you again. I've just been out of town for a whole summer. It's great to be back. In general, thank you. Thank you so much. You gave me faith in people and good in time." He spoke so seriously that Nasty again became uncomfortable. 35 kopecks. This is far from 35 hryvnia. And 35 hryvnia nowadays are just 3 cheesecakes and a loaf of bread. But good deeds are not measured in money. Sometimes a simple "thank you, excuse me, your luck" costs more than any wealth of the world. "Thank you, Sergei. If it were not for you, it's terrible even to imagine what would become of me. I just ended up in the right place at the right time." He smiled. "Thank you, Nasty, for the fact that you were in that bus." Nasty smiled back. "I'm glad we met," she said, looking thoughtfully at the roses, and added slyly, "and if suddenly you ever want to thank me again, how little do you suddenly owe me a trifle. You know, I like room violets." "Okay, I'll know." Sergei was glad to something. "Do you like movies? Cinema?" Nasty asked and inhaled the fragrance of flowers. "I love movies too." Later, after several hours, with his nose buried in the pillow and remembering the trip with Sergei to the cinema, a long walk through the city under the starry sky and a short kiss for goodbye, Nasty in passing thought that Ivan probably would have acted differently from Sergei, and would have said at all not that, and in general, most likely, would not kiss her on the first date. But this unpredictability she very much even liked. and it seemed to her that it was time to finally throw her friend's boyfriend out of her head and out of her heart in order to let in another person with whom she wanted to get acquainted and learn better, without comparing him to anyone. Who knows, maybe it was about this that Autumn tried to whisper to her, instead of an epilogue. "Unfortunately, I have absolutely no change," Olga said, standing opposite the red-haired girl with a scattering of freckles on the snub-nosed face. And then suddenly she turned to the guy, who was spinning at the refrigerator with drinks, the young man. He shuddered with surprise and turned around. On his face, he had funny cones, and in his hand, the bank of cola. "Will you take the Coke?" 8 19 cents. Olga sounded ringing. "Do you happen to have any little things?" "To me today always large bills come." And she smiled broadly, as if continuing the thought, "Large bills, this is certainly good, but even better when they are yours." The girl smiled knowingly and, looking from the seller to the unknown guy, mysteriously shone her eyes, and he blinked, then turned back to the refrigerator, and took out another jar of cola. To the city, slowly, but indescribably, dusk fell. From the windows of the bakery it was evident how two of the minibus came out, a guy and a girl holding hands, headed toward the shop. They will enter, and Olga, as usual, will meet them with a smile and with the words, "Do you always like a threaded low and 4 cheesecakes?" Of course, the names of young people aren't known to a good woman. They are Sergei and Anastasia, but she always calls them to herself.